जय राधा माधवा कुंज बिहारी। गोपी जनवल्लभा गिरिवरधारी। गोपी जनवल्लभा गिरिवरधारी। यशोदानंदन ब्रज जनरंजन। यशोदानंदन ब्रज जनरंजन। यमुना तीरावनचारी। यमुना तीरावनचारी। जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी। जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी। श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासदि गौर भक्तवृंद। जय श्री कृष्ण। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण। जय राधा राधानाथ राधा राधानाथ राधे। जय नीताय गौर हरि नीताय गौर हरि गौर हरि। जय गिरि गोवर्धन गिरि गोवर्धन जय गिरि गोवर्धन। जय जय प्रभुपाद Prabhupada Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Shri Radha Radhanath ki, Srila Prabhupada ki, Nitai Gaur Premanande. So this morning again we are reading from I will build you a temple. Because temple is very important for devotees to come to take darshan, to spend some time chanting japa, doing some service, and then progress in the Krishna consciousness. This is why Srila Prabhupada, he wanted badly to establish good temples, beautiful temples, not just a temple, but a temple of understanding, where we come and we become very, very good devotees. This is what happened in Mumbai, because we know Mumbai is the biggest financial city of India. And there is lots of, it is also the biggest Maya Nagari. Yeah. So there is Bollywood there, you know very well. And a lot of things happen. That's why Srila Prabhupada, before going to the West, he came there first. And he tried to convince this lady, Mrs. Morarji, begging her to let her go to the West and fulfill the mission of his spiritual master. So although he prepared himself in Vrindavan, but he started his journey from Mumbai, and then he came back with his disciples from America and Europe to build this very big and huge and most beautiful temple of Shri Radharas Bihari Ki. So last week we read about facing the challenges. Of course, Srila Prabhupada was on a debate on Bhagavad Gita discussion. We finished that. So we continue. We saw how applicable the reading was to what we had just witnessed, so-called scholars and politicians unable to do any good for anyone because they themselves were blind. And then the following verse was also applicable, that unless you smear your body with the dust of the feet of the devotee, you can't be engaged in devotional service, not by your speculation, by the instructions of others or the joint efforts of big conferences. So that's where Prabhupada was in a big conference, and he emphasized very strongly that Srimad Bhagavad Gita has to be heard from a bona fide spiritual master in a disciplic succession. So some of the conference participants were on the flight with us from Nagpur to Mumbai. I was sitting behind Prabhupada, and across the aisles from Ramakrishna Bajaj. Innocently but foolishly I told Mr. Bajaj what Prabhupada had said about injecting our poison. Hearing me, Prabhupada turned and glared at me as if to say, "You weren't supposed to tell that to him." Yeah, we must be careful how we approach and tell people. Yeah, Prabhupada, he was not happy about that. Although he could be quite forceful when he preached and was sometimes blunt in private, Prabhupada was otherwise most tactful and polite. He argued on philosophical principles in debate, but he was always cordial in personal dealings. And because Prabhupada was so genuine, Mr. Bajaj remained friendly even after Prabhupada had taken such a strong position And later he had quite a large donation to one of our farm projects. And out of respect for Prabhupada, he held the next Gita conference at the Krishna Balaram temple in Vrindavan during Prabhupada's last days. Yeah, so this is also to be considered how we deal with people. Yeah, Prabhupada was very strong. He even mentioned rascals and this and that. But you had to be also, he was extremely polite and respectful and following in the footsteps, his disciples, especially His Holiness Giriraj Swami, who was very instrumental in this big project of ISKCON worldwide Juhu temple. He used to go around Mumbai cultivating very rich, pious Indians, but bearing in mind to always take care of them and be polite to them and genuinely approaching them with a pure heart. This is how His Holiness Giriraj Swami did his seva for Srila Prabhupada for 14 years in the Juhu temple. So he again is saying, Prabhupada, he said, although he could be quite forceful when he preached and was sometimes blunt in private, Prabhupada was otherwise most tactful and polite. He argued on philosophical principles in debate, but he was also always cordial in personal dealings. Yeah. So despite the philosophical differences, Swami Chitananda also felt blessed by Prabhupada's affection and Krishna consciousness. Some years later, he met with Radhanath Swami and spoke with him about Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki. So as we sat close, Radhanath Swami later remembered, he told me of his deep appreciation and respect for Srila Prabhupada and wonderful things he had done to spread bhakti throughout the world. Yeah, even in the pastimes of Bhakti Tirtha Swami, if you have read the Black Lotus, you see he was following yoga and meditation from a guru, but that guru used to tell Bhakti Tirtha Swami to go to Srila Prabhupada. He is a real guru every time. This is how Bhakti Tirtha Swami Maharaj, he came and surrendered to Srila Prabhupada. Before he had some funny ideas on wearing robes and about devotees, but then he surrendered and he became one of the very dear and sincere disciple and son of Srila Prabhupada. So I told him about Prabhupada's first meeting with Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, how Prabhupada's friend Narendranath Malik insisted that he visit this great sadhu and took him to the Gaudiya Mutt in Calcutta. And they went upstairs to the rooftop where Srila Bhakti Siddhanta was speaking to a group of people. And almost immediately Srila Bhakti Siddhanta gave him a lifelong instruction. You are intelligent young man. You should take the message of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu throughout the world in the English language. Yeah. That was very interesting. I mean, that's, as Bhagavatam say, a moment association with a pure devotee of Lord can change your journey in your life completely. This is what happened to Srila Prabhupada. Before I could speak another word, Chitananda Saraswati hearing, you should take the message of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to the whole world in the English language, became so emotional that he jumped out of his seat, stood up and raised one of his arms in the air, and tears flooding his eyes, and said, that was not just an instruction, that was divine prophecy. He said it again. That was not just an instruction, that was divine prophecy. He did it. So, although these saints, they have their own school of thoughts, they have their own philosophy, they come from different organizations, but many of them they appreciated Srila Prabhupada so much, and they glorified us. We see this example here. And he did it. He actually did it. He spread Lord Chaitanya's teaching in the English language all over the world. He did it. Then he sat down and spoke about Prabhupada for another 45 minutes, and he was in rapt attention, emotionally listening and appreciating. Shortly after we returned to Bombay, I received a copy of Madalsa Narayan's article and showed it to Srila Prabhupada. The article, which had appeared in the major papers, praised Prabhupada and ISKCON for their work in re-spiritualizing society. It was especially significant because of all the accusations being leveled against us. Where she has sent this article, Prabhupada asks, in some of the newspapers in Varda and maybe Nagpur. She has written very nicely, Prabhupada said. Good writer. She picked up the essence of the movement, and he asked Gopal Krishna to publish the article in the next edition of Bhagavad Darshan, the Hindi counterpart of Back to Godhead. The next day, December 31, a local reporter came to interview Prabhupada. So maybe some of you don't know, there was a lot of obstacles while setting this temple in Juhu. They had to deal with the traitor who tried to sell the plot of land, and then the land itself was full of it was a marshy land full of mosquitoes. Bad if you have experience in those days when you land in Mumbai from the flight. There's this terrible smell from the slums that come, and where they have many garbage being thrown, etc. So these are the obstacles, but the biggest obstacle came when one of the Bollywood movie came out called Hare Krishna Hare Rama, and the song came Dam Maru Dam. This caused a lot of problem to devotees. First, many Indians thought they were CIAs coming to spy, and they thought, then they saw this movie, it was bad. They were harassing devotees when they were going on Harinam and book distribution. And but Srila Prabhupada, he was very positive always. When disciples used to come and complain and say many things about what's going on, then he used to encourage them and inspire them and tell them, yeah, the movie can be like that, but many people are chanting Hare Krishna, Hare Ram. Yeah, everywhere. Mauritius also, I am from Mauritius, we had big trouble. When we were going on Harinam and on the streets, they were throwing tomato on us and also harassing us. They were saying, here, the Hare Rama, Hare Krishna. They are ganja smokers. And here, many bad things happened. But Prabhupada, he was very firm, very strong, and he sheltered the devotees and gave them very good and devotional nourishment, made them very strong to continue and not to give up, because this is also a test from Shishi Radharas Bihari. So when you impart this knowledge to Western disciple, he asked, and when you talk to someone who is in India, what difference do you find? Indian men refuse this culture, Prabhupada replied. India's leaders, beginning from Gandhi and all, do not know what is India's culture. They have forgotten. Would you like to include Gandhi also in that? Oh yes. Otherwise, how it can be? Andha, yathandair upaniyamanaha. The blind leading the blind. But he was the one who also preached Gita. Is he? Did he preach Bhagavad Gita? If he would have preached Bhagavad Gita, millions of problems would have been solved in this holy land of India. But he did not know Gita actually. Recently, I have been in his ashram. They are maintaining the chatai and the lantern in memory. What is that? If Mahatma Gandhi understood Gita, he should have introduced it in that ashram. Where is that? The chatai food arrangement is there. That is done by his disciples and not by him. He never. That means he could not make his disciples correctly. That is true. That is true. Therefore, he did not know. Now see how within 10 years, my disciples are working all over the world. I am sitting here, but still my business is going on. You have to train in such a way, the deity worship going on. They are now opening different branches, establishing deity exactly in the way I have trained. It is a question of training. Yeah, so this is what is proven, that Prabhupada is a true and very genuine teacher of Bhagavad Gita. Through his teaching, the whole world started to change, and we can see devotees all over the world, and then performing devotional service, opening centers, and spreading. We have distributed many Bhagavad Gita in almost all the languages of the world. So this is the Shakti of a bona fide spiritual master, and coming from a bona fide disciplic succession. That's what last reading we have concluded with. So Gandhiji manufactured. The Bhagavad Gita was spoken in the battlefield, and he wanted to draw the conclusion of non-violence. What is this? Krishna says, Kutas tva kasmalamidam vishame. In this battlefield, you are talking nonsense that I will not fight. He says so, and Gandhi wanted to make it non-violent. Just see how from the very beginning he distorted. And people accept it. Yad yad acharati shreshtas. He was a shreshta, a leader. Shri Radha Radhanath ki. Ji. So whatever he will say, people will accept. The whole India became spoiled. Yes. If you know a little bit of the history of India, I got the opportunity to walk all over India with Lokanath Swami Maharaj Padayatra, and I have seen personally many things that happen in India due to this not proper understanding of Srimad Bhagavad Gita, especially tolerating many things that really our many devotees, they were killed, temples were destroyed, many things happened. Yeah. So many part of India from centuries. So what the Bhagavad Gita Srila Prabhupada has very clearly quoted, Arjuna is saying, Krishna is saying to Arjuna, Uttishta parantapa yudhaya nishchaya. As a Kshatriya, as a proper Kshatriya, one has to take his weapon and fight and defend his country. Otherwise, Lord Krishna is saying very clearly in second chapter, Kutas tva kasmala midam Vishame samupastitam anarya justam akirtim karam arjuna. This is not befitting for a Kshatriya like you, where this petty weakness has come for a powerful warrior like yourself. So, yeah. So, and we know many centuries ago, when the invaders, the Mughals, they were killing devotees, destroying temples, even in Vrindavan. Our main temples of Goswamis have been attacked, deities has been taken away to Rajasthan, to Jaipur, to Karoli. So, in the midst of all this, Lord Krishna empowered Lord Vithala, Shivaji. So Shivaji, he came as a warrior from Maharashtra and he protected all these temples and many devotees. So he says, we continue, he says so that, and Gandhiji wanted to make it non-violent. Just see how from the very beginning he distorted. And people accept it. For weeks after Prabhupada's visit to Wardha and Ponar, he expressed his chagrin that despite the conference participants and local people's claims to accept the Gita, no one was actually worshipping Krishna. Not even at Mahatma Gandhi's and Vinoba Bhave's ashrams, because the leaders didn't accept the Bhagavad Gita as it is, as it was presented by Lord Krishna. Gee, even in Hinduism, if you know all of us, when the saints they decided to save Hinduism, they established a big printing press like we have Bhaktivedanta BBT, Book Trust. So they established Gita Press in Gorakhpur. The saint, he was very dear to Bhagavad Gita. He loved Bhagavad Gita. That's why his press, he named it Gita Press. But still, Bhagavad Gita was not fully preached and spread according to the message of Lord Krishna as it is. It has some impact all over the world, but not as Srila Prabhupada when he came. He represented the Sampradaya, the disciplic succession, and he, from the whole Bhagavad Gita, chapter by chapter, when he gave his commentary and he translated, he made this statement very strong that Krishna is a supreme personality of Godhead and is a supreme person, and the process of devotional service, pure devotional service, has been very clearly explained. That's why we see changes all over the world. Yeah. So he quoted the Bhagavad Gita 9:12. Moghasa mogha karmano mogha jnana vichetasa. In that deluded condition, the hopes for liberation, the fruitive activities and the culture of knowledge all are defeated. There's an Australian author has written a book about Mahatma Gandhi's whole life. And he has a book entitled Freedom at Midnight. Because after he preached the non-violence, there was a lot of violence. It ended very violently. And when there was partition, many people were killed and slaughtered. That was terrible. What happened. Up to today, where this partition happened, people practicing Vedic culture, even devotees, they are always tortured. So that's why Bhagavad Gita says we have to stand and defend ourselves. Because Gandhi had not recognized Krishna as a supreme personality of Godhead, Prabhupada explained to all Indian guests on one morning walk, his hopes and endeavors had been baffled. His ambition was Hindu-Muslim unity, and that was banned. His ambition was non-violence, and he was killed by violence. He was shot. A person so dedicated, so nice, but he followed the wrong path. Recently, I had been on his Sevagram in Varda. There was no Krishna, and he said that he is very fond of Bhagavad Gita. But he understood Bhagavad Gita in his own way. And in the Bhagavad Gita, it is said that as soon as you try to understand Bhagavad Gita in your own way, it is finished. Nashta. Yoga nashta parantapa. So nashta, what is nashta? What is the use of? Suppose if I supply you something which is spoiled, what benefit you will derive? Therefore, no benefit is derived by the people in general, either from Gandhiji or Vinoba Bhave or Tilak, because it was nashta. Just like if you are hungry, if you get some real food, you will understand. The example is these American and European boys. They are simply chanting, Hare Krishna. Say Hare Krishna. Yeah. So this Hare Krishna Mahamantra is a very powerful mantra that changed millions all over the world. And you see how they are advanced, but you won't take. That is your fault. You have manufactured your own way of life. Otherwise, Hare Krishna is India's greatest gift. But you won't take it. What is a weakness in the Indian society? A visiting gentleman asks. They have got bad leaders. Now, where was the difficulty of accepting Hare Krishna Mahamantra? Where? Because when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu left this planet after some centuries, this Mahamantra was sang by very cheap practitioners. And there was a lot of Aula Baulas, Appa Sampradayas. They were coming to Vrindavan, and there were these people who were chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra was not respected. And then this movie came in the early 70s. That was a disaster. But then Srila Prabhupada, he made this chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra so powerful, and people all over the world, they started to respect and chant everywhere in the whole world. So that is what is a miracle that Prabhupada did. And now there's no problem for chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra. It's going on, spreading all over. So he did not know that to lead, what to speak to others, of others. They do not know. I saw the Vinoba Bhave, he does not know anything. And he has become a leader. I saw his ashram, about 12 women, Matajis, they are reciting Bhagavad Gita. That's all. For the last 40 years, he's working on Bhagavad Gita. And the result is some 40 women reciting Bhagavad Gita. That is the result. So what they will do, they do not know how to lead. And he has written one book on Bhagavad Gita, and that is also not according to Bhagavad Gita, but he has become a great leader. That is going on. Prabhupada mentioned that I had told him that Vinoba Bhave had declared that he was going to fully retire and endeavor for moksha. That means till now he has not on the liberation. He was not on the liberation platform, he pointed out. Vinoba Bhave is really a Brahman, another man said. Yes, I know that, Prabhupada responded, that may be, Brahman is Sattva Gun. That may be, but that doesn't mean liberation. But there is knowledge. At least he understands what is liberation and what is not. So if he's trying for becoming liberated, it is understood that he was not liberated. No, now our point is that if you are not liberated, how you can become leader? That is cheating. In a conversation a month later in Bhubaneswar, Prabhupada said, recently I went to Varda, Mahatma Gandhi's ashram. Nobody is there. And they are worshipping Mahatma Gandhi's lantern, Mahatma Gandhi's chadar. Not a single picture of Krishna. Yeah. There is not a single picture of Krishna. And in Bhagavad Gita it is said, Bhajate Mam Ananya Bhakt. That is going on. Ji. So this is what Prabhupada he has done. He has churned the whole Bhagavad Gita and given us this nectar and made us very clear. He established in our heart that Krishna, Stu Bhagavan Swayam, he is a supreme personality of Godhead, and one who accepts, then he can further understand deeper and deeper the rahasya, all the secrets. This is the most confidential knowledge, as 9th chapter says. Rajvidya Rajaguhyam Pavitram Idam Uttamam Pratakshvagamam Dharmyam Shushukam Kartum Avayam. This is the king of knowledge. This is only Prabhupada could brought this out and make us understand, inculcate in all of us, all over the world, that yes, otherwise in the past it was not understood like that. And again in Juhu in April he said, recently I had been to Vinoba Bhave's ashram and there is no Krishna. And he's writing Bhagavad Gita Pravachan or something like that. Even in Gandhi's ashram, Barda, Gandhi's lantern is being worshipped. Yes. So Prabhupada's disciple Amogha Leela Das, who was assisting me in Juhu, did not have much personal association with Srila Prabhupada. But one morning he joined him for his morning walk because Prabhupada wasn't feeling well. Instead of going to Juhu beach, he walked on the rooftop above his quarters at the back of the Hare Krishna land, and Amogha Leela took the opportunity to join him. I heard that you quoted a saying that anyone who goes to Lanka becomes a Ravan. And that's similarly, when devotees come to India, they become Ravan. Amogha Leela said to him, can you explain what you meant and how we can avoid that happening? Ask the leaders, Prabhupada replied. I was saying that in all our other branches, our devotees manage the cooking and kitchen. There was no question of hiring or paying someone to do the work in the temple. The devotees would do everything, cut the vegetables, cook the prasad, wash the pots, clean the kitchen, do the laundry, clean the bathrooms. But as soon as they come here, they become Bada Sahib, big masters. That is Raman. Ji. Bada Sahib means big guy, big masters. Why do they not do that here? Here we have to keep some cook who is neither initiated nor very clean. In all other branches, the boys and girls manage everything. So the solution Amogha Leela proposed is to follow your instructions, to chant the holy names and follow the regulations more strictly. That means Ravan, Prabhupada retorted. He's asking, I am repeatedly saying to follow, and he's asking, that means he's a Ravan. Why you are inquiring? If you know this is a solution, why don't you do it? Therefore I say, ye yaya lankaya ye haya Ravan, as Bengali. Anyone who comes to Lanka, he becomes Ravan. Just be careful how you understand that. Just now you go and visit Lanka, it doesn't mean actually. But he is trying to explain his disciples and us, all of us, what has to be done rightly and what has to be done. So Amog Lila started going around saying, Srila Prabhupada wants us to do all the cooking ourselves. We should get rid of the hired people. The next morning, our local GBC told Amoga Lila that he had informed Prabhupada how Amoga Lila was telling devotees that we should get rid of all the hired help. And Srila Prabhupada has said, who is this Amoga Lila? Why is he creating a disturbance? You must be careful how you understand the instructions. Prabhupada wants us to know he convinced, and if we just followed the instructions, the process that he had given, all the problems would be solved. And we should apply such instructions intelligently according to time, place and circumstance, as Prabhupada said. Sorry, what time is it? 10 past, okay. Sorry? So, usually we are blessed in Radharanana temple. We have nice devotees preparing our meals. But some temples it's not like that. Like I stayed in Delhi for many years. For some years. And we had some nice they were not initiated, but they were cooking very nice prasadam, and slowly over the years they became very purified staying in the temple, and they became very good devotees, and they were initiated, and it carried on. Because imagine there is almost 100 brahmacharis staying in a temple, so sometimes it becomes very difficult for devotees to cook for 100 people every day, 150. So our cooks, they did well, because in Delhi temple, devotees had to go the whole day in this big city full of pollution to preach and do life members and collect funds. So early morning they had rice, dal, sabji and chapati. So they had to take this prasadam to go, because many of them would come late, very hungry. So cooking for so much, and cooking for 2 times plus feast, etc. It was big job. I mean, it's not easy. Here in the temple we take turn to cook for 20, 30 devotees. But there was big, in India is big. So slowly these good people became devotees, and they were initiated, and they continued the work every morning, preparing right after Mangalarti for the cooking. So we continue here, Allahabad Mahakumbh Mela. In Allahabad, Prayag, at the confluence of the Ganges, Yamuna and Saraswati rivers, more than 1 million sadhus and pilgrims gather every year to bathe at auspicious times, which is said to guarantee relief from the cycle of birth and death. The annual event is called Magh Mela. So Allahabad happens in 4 places. Haridwar, which is at the feet of Himalaya, Nasik, which is in Maharashtra, Ujjain, where you have a famous temple that Bhakticharya Swami Maharaj built, ISKCON temple, and we have the school, Gurukul, where Lord Krishna went to school there, the ashram of Sandipani Muni. So then we have the main Kumbh Mela in Prayagraj, which is in Uttar Pradesh, called Triveni, or is called Prayag, Allahabad in modern day. So every 12 years there is a big Maha Kumbh Mela that happens in Prayagraj, where there is confluence of Ganga, Saraswati and Jamuna. Saraswati you don't see there, is underground, but you can see a little bit in the Himalaya. So Prabhupada, we continue here. The annual event is called Magh Mela. Mela means fair, gathering, and Magha is a month spanning parts of January and February in the lunar calendar. Prabhupada told us that the site of the festival was considered very sacred because Mohini Murti had brought nectar. Of course, on specific days, on the very auspicious days, the nectar is falling from the churning of the ocean, the pastime that is described in Srimad Bhagavatam. Kumbha, he said, means the water pot. Every 12 years, the cosmic arrangement is even more auspicious. And that Mela is known as Kumbh Mela. And every 12 Kumbh Mela is Maha Kumbh Mela, when the star formations and astronomical influence are even more auspicious. After visiting the Kumbh Mela in 1895, Mark Twain wrote, "It is wonderful, the power of a faith like that can make multitudes upon multitudes of old and weak and young and frail enter without hesitation or complaint upon such incredible journeys and endure the resultant miseries without repining. It is done in love and it is done in fear. I do not know which it is. No matter what the impulse is, the act born of it is beyond imagination, marvelous to our kind of people." So the Mela in 1977 was going to be at the Maha Kumbh Mela, the first in the 144 years. 15 million people were to attend, and Prabhupada wanted to participate. It's not easy. Is anybody has gone to Kumbh Mela? Yeah, it's not easy. I mean, like the Prabhu was saying, Sanak Sanatan from Vrindavan, that a temporary city is built up on sand. Very well organized. Everything is available. Toilets, offices, electrical installation, phone, everything. And different organizations, they go and put up their marquee, their tents for the preaching. And ISKCON, they have grown big now. Every Kumbh Mela, devotees from Mumbai, temple from Vrindavan, they go and they set up. From Mayapur also, they come and they do a lot of food for life and a lot of preaching, Harinam, Sankirtan. I was blessed to attend for all the 4 Kumbh Melas. And so this is a blessing. And on his morning walk on the Juhu beach on January 8, Prabhupada explained the real benefit of the holy convocation. Kumbh Mela is satsang. If you go to Kumbh Mela to find out a man of knowledge, then your Kumbh Mela is right. Otherwise, yat tirtha buddhi salile sa eva go kharaha. If one thinks that the shalila, the water, to take bath in the water is Kumbh Mela, he is a gokhara, a cow or an ass. The real idea is that now there is an assembly of so many saintly persons Let me take advantage of the knowledge, then he is intelligent. It is a congress of highly learned saints persons. People should take advantage. He tried to book Prabhupada's train to Allahabad for the morning of January 11, but millions of people were going to the Mela and he couldn't get seats. It so happened, however, that one of our recent friends and life members, Rabindranath Gupta, was a chief engineer in the railway system, and he arranged to get 2 cars added into a train, a first class and second class train, to accommodate Prabhupada and the devotees, and had Prabhupada's car freshly painted and decorated with garlands. This was a good Gupta, not the Gupta you hear from here in South Africa. His name is Rabindranath Gupta. So please don't take all Guptas to be the same. So the day before we left, Rameshwar arrived in Bombay, and he Jagadish and Harish Sauri rode to Allahabad, which is Prayagraj, in the same cabin with Prabhupada. And I often joined them. Yeah, devotees in India, they were doing wonders. Usually when you go in train nowadays, this was a special arrangement for Srila Prabhupada because he was a pure devotee, pure ambassador of Krishna. So everywhere he go in aeroplanes, in trains, pious people came to organize his trip and very nicely. Recently I watched a video where devotees in India, they have organized prasadam to be sold in the trains now. Not only vegetarian food but prasadam. So here very nice arrangement is done for Srila Prabhupada. So Rameshwar, the day before we left, Rameshwar arrived in Mumbai, that we read. The brainwashing case was going on in New York, and Prabhupada, eager to preach and fortify us, asked, "What are they saying?" Rameshwar laid down his opposition's arguments, and Prabhupada refuted them. "What else do they say?" he asked, and Rameshwar gave other arguments, which again Prabhupada defeated. The discussion ranged over various topics, and we were all enlivened by Prabhupada's preaching. When we arrived in Allahabad the next morning, several sannyasis, disciples, and 50 or so other devotees were there to greet Prabhupada. Abhiram and Gurudas had brought Prabhupada's car from Delhi and drove him from the station to our site on the far side of the Mela. The campsite was out of the way on an island called Svetadvipa, means an island on the Ganga. A 20-minute walk from the Triveni bathing area, and unlike most of the other sites, was too far from the city lines to get electricity. It had no front gate and was outfitted with only basic facilities, outdoor toilets, running water, and a partition area with some bricks and a hole in the ground for cooking. Prabhupada was upset about the camp's remote location. Well, the reason this happened because from ages, big organizations that time, okay, it's 8:30 now, so we'll stop soon. So big organization, they have already coming down for years, and they have the main prime places. So this is a time when foreign devotees with local pious devotees and members, they organize. So Prabhupada was not so happy, but now if you go, what is can do wonders in these Kumbh Melas. They have prime places, and the organizers, they're very cooperative, help the devotees, and they do a lot of preaching, a lot of activities. They set up facilities for sannyasis, for gurus, for all devotees, for matajis. Everything happened very wonderfully. So thank you so much for patiently listening to this wonderful book called I'll Build You a Temple, the Juhu story by His Holiness Giriraj Swami Ki, Srila Prabhupada Ki. Any comment or any question? No? Thank you. Hare Krishna.